What are you watching? This channel publicly buzzed. I'm always watching their streams. It's pretty funny.
Really? I know Steve, man. I just did an interview with that guy.
Why is this guy talking to you?
We talked about some different ways he could grow his new YouTube channel, Wrestle Plunge.
And he asked you for advice.
Yeah, I'd say I know how to grow YouTube channels.
Okay.
First of all, man, I dig your channel a lot. Like, your channel's fucking awesome. I love how interactive you are on there, and I've gotten tips from you just watching your videos. And even after we started talking, dude, that description thing through ChatGPT was amazing. Like, that's such a good idea.
It's humbling to hear because, I mean, obviously your publicly buzzed channel is already pretty successful and you're on your way with Wrestle Plunge.
Yeah, the wrestling, now on the wrestling side of it, so when I first started, of course, I didn't know how to do any of this, basically, video editing, anything. So if you looked at any of the old well, it used to be called fan cam commentary. I just changed the name to Wrestle Plunge. So my whole thing at the beginning was just doing commentary over old matches, very basic, just as basic as it could literally be. I got to where I could get monetized. They actually monetized the channel initially, but then took that away when I was going to get my first payout because they're calling it reuse content, which it totally is. I mean, I'm adding something, but it's not a lot. So I totally get that. And since I've started publicly buzzed, dude, the last probably year has been me hardcore just going in on VidIQ videos and any of those self-help type of videos with editing. And as I go on I use Adobe Premiere. So I got to a point to where I was like, man, I feel like I can maybe turn this into something with my wrestling side. And actually, because I see all these wrestling channels, dude, and they look like they're monetized and they make the docu-style sort of the videos telling a story. So I think that I can actually maybe do that now. So I really want to give it a real shot. But out the gate, first question for you, man, what do you think are the key elements that help the channels you grew to 1 million and the one that you grew to over 100,000 subscribers? And how do you think that those elements that you helped with to get those numbers, that you can help me with the pro wrestling channel?
I would say consistency. When I started the Somatic Breathwork channel, which we did get to 1 million this year, 100,000 last year, shorts were really starting to pop off heavy and not a lot of people were doing shorts. So at that time, there was an opportunity to jump in with shorts. And the nature of the Somatic Breathwork channel is it's almost like yoga, but it's a breathing exercise. And subsequently, some people have extreme reactions through deep breathing. There's other forms of breath work, like holotropic breath work, that are way more intense, that are actually developed to induce a near-death experience. But with somatic, it's a lot softer. But long story short, that caused a lot of very intense reactions from people that we shared in our shorts. That is what I consider top of funnel. I consider shorts for any channel top of funnel. So it doesn't matter what channel you're promoting or working on. And my funnel is always AIDA, attention, interest, decision, action. So with the Somatic channel, we got a lot of attention with the reaction shorts that we put on the channel. And it was at a time when there weren't a lot of people creating shorts. So that brought in tons of eyes. And then we had long form on there explaining what the actual breathing exercises were and pushing people towards maybe coming to a community session and experiencing it for themselves, or going to school to become a certified practitioner through the website that we managed. So the attention getting stuff with shorts is really what propelled it to a lot of subscriptions really fast. And it was kind of the same thing on Steven Jaggers, which we got to 100,000. Again, shorts were a new thing. Not a lot of people were creating them. And we were creating a lot of talking head shorts there, and also the same expression shorts that got a lot of attention quickly. Now, the thing with shorts, and you probably know this from Wrestle Plunge, because I did see that you're doing a lot of shorts there, and some of them have been variably successful. I looked at a few of them. It looks like you're putting old wrestling content out there. I saw the WCW versus NWO glitch video that you did, and I've seen some other stuff that you have on there, but that's always going to be the top of funnel. And what I mean by that is you'll get a lot of attention with it, but all that attention is not necessarily going to translate to subscribers, translate to long form, but a good amount of it will. So my advice to anybody with shorts is use it as an attention-seeking platform to try to drive people who may be interested in learning more about you or what you create to your channel, is the long and short of it.
And to the side of shorts, and I have dabbled with the shorts a little bit on the publicly buzz side, man. I'm not going to lie, I've kind of given up on shorts, which I'm getting back into the wrestling side of things. And I'm probably going to try shorts to get eyes on it, just like you said. But dude, on the publicly buzz side of things, and I know niches vary with how people, absorb their content. But
Right.
man, I got so frustrated with shorts on Publicly Buzz. You know, I don't know if okay, when you put out a short and you can actually watch the analytics in the back and you see that that thing is actually being pushed and going, and then it dies a brutal death, even if it's getting interactions with thumbs and comments, dude, that took the air out of me. And because I'm spending time making that, and I'm like, man, I could be putting this time elsewhere. So on Publicly Buzz side, I haven't made any in probably like 2 or 3 months. And dude, the thing is, if one hits, you do get subs from it. Like you'll get numbers.
Yes.
And that's awesome. Like I like seeing that. But man, and on the wrestling side, I'm about to start what those shorts that you were seeing on the wrestling side, dude. That was me basically taking clips and just putting out a clip.
Yeah.
Like now I want to try to put together a story for that short. Like I want to actually put together something that's, way more digestible than just because people are going to be watching those wrestling clips. They're going to have a dopamine hit with like the nostalgia, right? I want them to not only get that, but also see, holy shit, this guy can tell a story, and maybe that'll get the click to the channel, is my hope, honestly. And now they have the feature where you can put the video in the short, or a link to your long form. So my next video, I'm actually going to experiment with that. I found my next video is about Big E and him breaking his neck. And I'm about done with that. I should be able to wrap it up tonight. And I want to make a short. I found a really cool clip of him kind of like, it's him arguing with The Miz, but it's like a really kind of controversial type of, they're kind of actually going at it on a heated moment. It's from 2020. The only real thing here, and I guess this is kind of a question for you right now, is that in my mind, I'm thinking about taking a heated clip from Big E to tell that story, what's actually happened in that clip, which has nothing to do with him breaking his neck. But I understand that shorts will possibly get pushed out to more people. My plan is to link my long form video, which is only like 3 or 4 minutes, but to link that in that Big E short, but it's totally unrelated to my subject in the long form. It's not a neck break video. So what do you think on that? Is that crazy?
I don't think it's crazy because it's still on the subject of Big E. So it's logical to assume that if the person's consuming a short on Big E and they're interested enough to see right in that related short, they're going to see, the related video, they will see whatever you're going to title the Big E neck break. So if they're a fan of Big E or even vaguely interested in modern WWE, them consuming that moment between him and The Miz and then seeing that in the related that, now they have content about when he broke his neck. I think it's a logical trajectory, and it does follow the AIDA structure that I always talk about, because you have their attention with this little moment that they may or may not remember from 2020. And then you can get their interest. They'll say, oh, well, he has more content about when he broke his neck. That's interesting. Let me go check that out.
That's my idea.
Yeah. And that's your decision. I think it's a good idea. And you say you gave up on shorts over at Publicly Buzzed. What if you just use that as a platform for some of your more higher profile cases? Because I kind of just shuffled through some of your videos a little bit, but I seen you had the Phil Spector stuff on there. And I see that as an opportunity because it was a high profile murder with Lana Clarkson and all that. And there's so many different clips that you could pull from to just, in terms of your actual episodes about Spector, you could take some of that voiceover that you have, and you just put any of these clips. You could take clips from Clarkson's movies. You could take old clips of the different bands that Spector produced. And you could also, it might be eerie, because Spector, he wrote those love songs. These are iconic songs from the 50s, 60s, 70s. And it's eerie that he wrote love songs, but he murdered a woman. He was convicted of that, at least. I believe he probably pulled the trigger, but there's all kinds of conspiracy. Phil had a marked history of abusing women, basically physically abusing them. So I think you could tell that story through shorts. And any of these higher profile cases that you cover on Publicly Buzzed, if you just kind of shoeboxed it, like maybe you just talk about this part of the case, talk about that part of the case, like with the whole Spector, you could talk about briefly how he met Lana Clarkson and then what had ultimately transpired, just really briefly, because I don't know, I feel like you could, even on the wrestling side with the Big E and all that, in terms of your storytelling shorts, because you're doing docu videos on your channel, I feel like you could get away with 25 seconds and make it really engaging. And I feel like you could actually get some eyeballs on there, probably grow some subscriptions, but I actually get people interested in the longer form if you kind of leave it on a cliffhanger, almost like a mini trailer for your video,
And you touched on 2 more questions that I have that I think I suck at, dude. I am horrible at titling these videos. Like you murdered that day, the Vader one. Like that was great. And then also you just touched on, you want to keep that retention on a short. And I have had some like some pretty dude this is completely sidetracked, but on the publicly buzz side, one of the reasons I'm so frustrated, I can have a 120 plus retention short that will die for no reason. Like there's interactions, like
they die.
Shorts do piss me off, but yeah, just the retention side of it, dude. I feel like I have trouble with. Do you have any tips like for maybe even editing techniques or like?
I usually cut my shorts to music is typically what I do.
Dude, your shorts are fucking fire too. Like
I appreciate that. Thank you. I cut it to the musical changes in the background. So typically in any instrumental, any song, no matter what the genre is, I've noticed this, that every 4 seconds there's a change. And sometimes you can compound that into every 2 seconds. Sometimes it's every 4 seconds. Sometimes it's every 8. It depends on how you want to edit. And also you can edit around the words that you say. It's something I also do in shorts. So if I'm speaking about something, like if I said, when Hulk Hogan won the world championship at WrestleMania 9, if I said something like that, so I'd say when Hulk Hogan, so I show a little bit of Hogan, won the WWF World Championship. I might show a shot of the title, or maybe Earl Hebner holding it up. I forgot who the ref was in that match. At WrestleMania 9, I might show an overview of Caesar's Palace, or actually Hogan pinning Yokozuna for that belt and doing his little impromptu celebration we all remember. So that's 3 edits right there within like what, 5, not even 5 seconds. I mean, how long?
Dude,
when Hulk Hogan won his world championship at WrestleMania 9, depending on your pacing and how you say it, but it's just, it's peppering it. It's just in there. People don't have an opportunity to even think about what they're watching or make a decision because you're peppering them with basically what do I want to say? Visual stimulation that's paired with the audio stimulation, and you're coordinating it together. So it's like a simultaneous sensory overload that just hooks people in. It just works,
Yeah, man. Okay, cool. And yeah, back to the titles. To the titles, do you recommend? Because when I first got when I first started really getting publicly buzzed to move, I was using VidIQ. I paid for one of the tiers. I think it was like the $40 tier. Oh, so it wasn't the lowest one. It was a decent tier. And the best thing for that to me from that was the keywords. You can see kind of what's trending. That stuff is really cool. Mm-hmm. But it's also $40 a month. So after publicly buzz started rolling, I kind of dipped off that. But now that I'm trying to get back into basically revamping a whole new thing with Wrestle Plunge, I've thought about getting back in there. My question to you right now, kind of with the titles, is do you feel like, because we both know how the keyword research works on there, do you feel like, say like for Big E, for example, if I'm going to start to title this video, the neck break isn't necessarily in the news right now, right? It's last month, I think it's been a month since he even had some news on it. That might hurt me a little bit, but would you go into VidIQ and kind of just type out anything that would be around Big E and the neck break and just try to pull out what the top filtered, responses would be, or the research
something like that? First, I'll speak on VidIQ to a little bit here because I use VidIQ and I pay for it, but I've only paid for the low tier. I'm not trying to disparage VidIQ, but in my experience, the keyword research is perfect. I love that. I use it almost every day, But all their other tools,
dude, the tools about them, like they'll like give you ideas about other videos, and they try to it's almost like the AI is trying to figure out what you want to do next. Yeah. That to me was trash. Like I didn't get anything from that.
Yeah, I'll say this. VidIQ does put out a lot of good content on their channel. They give you a lot of good ideas and stuff. But in terms of some of the AI stuff, I do like their hook analyzer that's built in. If you, even with the low tier like I have, it'll analyze the front of my video and analyze the hook and give me some suggestions. That's one AI feature I like of theirs. But beyond that, I don't really use a whole lot. As far as the Big E thing, because I don't know a ton about him breaking his neck, but I'd imagine this is a career-threatening injury, right?
Yeah, I don't think he's coming back, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe since you're doing a video now that's a little bit after it was an emergent topic in the news, you go for the angle of latest information. But obviously you don't want to title it like that because that's something very mundane and boring. But maybe something like what's happening, what we know about Big E's return to WWE or something like that, or something very emergent where it looks like you're providing the most up-to-date information on Big E. without it being so overabundant with words. That's why I suggest looking
That's
at
my hard, dude. I want to just throw too many words on there. Like that's my
yes.
problem.
It's my problem too sometimes. That's why I restrict myself to 60 characters with spaces and punctuation included.
Okay.
60 characters per title. They give you, I think, 120 or something on YouTube or 100
I'll
characters.
break that in
But
half.
yeah, 60 I like to get to. And here's one thing I'll say about YouTube SEO right now. I mean, this channel is called Video SEO Club, but SEO is changing on YouTube. It doesn't mean that it's going away, but I'm seeing YouTube becoming less of a search-oriented platform and more or less people are riding the algorithms. And when I say people, I mean viewers.
I heard
Viewers
you
that
say
are
that in your last
watching.
live.
Yeah, it's something I've observed for a while, and it's greatly impacted the way I title videos. Because you got to think about it like this: your video is most likely going to be found through the algorithm pushing it to somebody through the browse feature. So that's going to greatly impact the way you do your thumbnails and also your titles. Because you only, if someone's in the browse feature, they're in a scroll mindset, almost like they are on Instagram. Because you know, you and I, if we're working on our laptops, we see this interface where it's our browse feature is a huge big wall of thumbnails basically, but we know how the mobile app works. People are just going through like this. So you had to have an impactful thumbnail and an impactful, brief, compact title that really is almost straight to the point while also still hitting some of those keywords in there, because that's what's going to guide the algorithm and who to deliver this to. That's why the
Right.
descriptions are still important. That's why the titles are still important, but the way we title has to be changed and altered in terms of capturing people's attention in that brief window that we'll actually have them for, where it's
Dude,
becoming
it's
a
so
scroll
small.
environment.
If I could share my screen, I got a
Yeah, go
thumbnail that I'm
ahead.
working with right now.
Yeah,
Let's see,
go
share
ahead.
screen.
Oof, that's a
So
rough rough text that you have on there for Big
oh,
E.
yeah, I'm not honestly sold on any of this yet. This is still a work in progress. But my idea is you see Big E, you know, he's in the brace, he's looking over to the right, and this is a shot from Mortal Kombat, you know, dude breaking his
Okay,
neck in one of those scenes.
right.
But I really kind of think maybe the Mortal Kombat picture is a little too dark. Like it's not really popping. So
Yeah, I see what you're saying there. And it looks like you're using what, Canva to do this?
yeah, I use Canva for about everything like this.
So that can be limiting in my experience. I don't have a ton of experience with Canva because I do use Photoshop for everything and
Oh,
have
gotcha. Yeah,
forever.
Photoshop's a little bit
But
more crazy.
because I wonder, are you able in Canva to put actual, like, just say a whole colored background on this thing? Because I would say throw a color or a gradient or something over this broken neck, and then you have just different opacity features. This is me thinking with my Photoshop brain though, just to make
Yeah.
that pop. Or what I would do is I would cut around that neck break and I would make it what do I want to say? I might even do a very small outline around it, but it looks like you got different options that I'm seeing there.
Yeah, on the
Yeah.
color side, you can kind of play with it. And I was, you know, trying to brighten it up a little bit. There are some down here,
There's
some
even
kind of
those
wilder
funky
ones.
ones there like that. But if you brought the intensity down to maybe 20%,
Oh yeah, it can actually like there's
so
normal and
you could
then
kind of play with it a little bit.
that's true. Kind of get that color to pop a little bit.
Yeah, and even that heat wave one. See, that one's a little bit harder, but that the amethyst right there. So you can play with it there with the intensity, and it at least makes it pop out a little bit more. But that's why I favor Photoshop, because what I would do is I would cut around that neck break and I would add a drop shadow or something like that. And that Big E picture, it's close, so close. His face is so close that we can't really tell that it's him. I mean, a little
That's a
bit
good
you
point.
can.
That's
Yeah,
a good
it's
point. That's a real good point, actually.
because it's so close that it kind of, you don't see the hair. Obviously, you don't see his body.
Yeah, I'm
So
almost going to be relying on the title. So yeah, no, you're right.
yeah.
Which is not you want them to this to pop first. Like
And also, I wouldn't worry about putting your logo on there, man. The
yeah,
WT, I wouldn't worry about it.
I'm kind of weird about that right now. I don't know if I should be throwing that out there or not. You know what I mean? It's kind of a weird thing. So what's your opinion on that? Like, why not?
My opinion on that is this, is that I just don't really care about branding to the extent that I put branding in my thumbnails usually. Like,
Gotcha.
I even stopped putting myself in my thumbnails because I don't know. It's kind of a trope for the SEO channels where people are always,
Right,
pointing at
Yeah.
stuff. If I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it to make fun, but I just feel like it's taking up real estate on Big E's face, so that might
You're
obscure
right.
his face a little bit. And it's not, it's not that important to have the branding on the thumbnail because let's say this, think about it this way. This is how I've always thought about it on YouTube. Let's say someone doesn't like your channel, but they might like your channel if they watch the right video. But if they
Dude,
just turn their whole brain off to it,
that's a good point, man.
yeah, I'm just
That's
saying.
a great point.
That's the
Dude,
way
I have the
see
same
it.
problem on Publicly Buzzed. I'll throw it. I've went through periods where I'll throw it on my, I almost do. I do a lot of lives. I do like 4 lives a week on there. And I've thought, like, if someone say someone's first introduction to you, they pop into this live, they get rubbed the wrong way.
Right.
If one thing they are probably going to remember is your logo that was slapped all over the place.
Yeah.
So I've kind of thought about that as well. I've had it on. I'm actually using it now. And where you said you were doing, you didn't really use your face on your thumbnails. I've played with that too, man. Like I personally feel like I'm not good looking enough. You know what I mean? You almost want somebody that's like highly clickable. Like, I don't know. Like,
yes, I see what you're saying, but think about the VidIQ guy. And I'm not saying this to disparage, but I mean,
right.
he's just a normal guy.
He's a bit of a goofy guy.
Think about Gary V.
Guy.
Gary V is just a regular looking dude, I mean, you could say a Ty Lopez is maybe more model-esque, but most of the guys that do this type of stuff, they're just regular looking guys, and I've thought about putting myself back on my thumbnails for only one reason. It's because I've been doing the comedy shorts on my YouTube channel, and now it's become more recognizable to more people. Not an abundant amount of people, but like maybe 10,000 views on one of those. So if they recognize the gray shirt and the gray hat and all that, so I might start doing it on the thumbnails. It's just I cringe to think of myself doing that.
I do, totally get that. Yeah, when I first, me and my brother do Publicly Buzz together, and he really just kind of hangs out and co-hosts with me. But first time I think it was last summer actually, like, man, let's try some of these thumbnails where we put ourselves on the thumbnail. And when he sent me his reaction shots, I was like, what are we doing? This is fucking weird.
Yeah, I
mean, but that's part of the game. I mean,
it works for some people. I see a lot of people do it. It's just I try to be different. But yeah, I think this thumbnail, if you just back Big E up a little bit, and I think the neck braid gets extreme, but it'll get people's attention. And I wouldn't worry too much about the WP, and you might not even need any text on this if you have a strong enough title,
That's I worry literally about all of those things, dude. Like, do I even need this text? Is that too much? Is hobbled and crippled too extreme just to be
it's
popping
extreme,
at people?
it's probably gonna get an extreme reaction from people, but it's just, you're trying to fit so much in there. Like I did the same thing with the Undertaker video I put out. I did a review on Undertaker's channel, and before I had this AI background of a cemetery, and it looks like Undertaker's coming out of the grave, and well, all I needed to do was just put the weird reaction from that Brock Lesnar match that he had, where he's having that weird reaction where they sat up and looked at each other, and 40% down. But it bricked my video for a few days, and I was just too stubborn to not change out the thumbnail like I should have, because I was paying attention to click-through rate. Click-through rate was atrocious on it. Undertaker was topical. Then he ended up being at night 2 of WrestleMania, the day I took that video live. And it just, for me, that video is a brick. It's at like 600, still to this day.
Yeah,
and
dude.
it's just,
you put so much into it, man.
I know, I put a lot into it. It does hurt. And so I learned from that is keep it simple, stupid is what I've always heard in business since I've been in the YouTube business, 2016, and keep it simple, stupid, KISS. So all that means is just keep your thumbnail simple. Most of the thumbnails that I've been successful with don't even have text on them, so
wow,
you don't always need it. They look at the thumbnail, then if you have an impactful title that's to the point, but also has enough SEO keywords in it, meaning maybe 1 or 2, so the algorithm knows what you're talking about, and it's relative to what's in the video and relative to what's in your description, you're usually going to win. You don't need all this crazy text and all that stuff. I see everyone do it, but
yeah,
it's less is more, especially now in this environment where people are scrolling through more than they're actually searching. You have a really good opportunity to capture eyes just by being deliberate and to the point,
That's a good point, man. Yeah. One of the main reasons I put starting with hobbled and crippled on there is like the first, very first moments of the video is he was on a podcast and he said, I don't want to end up hobbled and crippled, when they were basically asking if you're going to come back.
Yeah.
So I was kind of thinking in the mindset of like, they're going to see that, click on that, and I don't know if hobbled or crippled will be in the title or not, but the first thing they get from your video is what you promised, right? It's what you're at least delivering on that, and hopefully they'll stick around for the next of it. So
yeah, I mean, one way you can maybe do it is without it having to be on top of Big E's head right there. Is if you take
no, dude, you're 100% right. I'm totally gonna. I love the way you're thinking about the logo. I think I'm gonna totally lose that, and I think that you're right about Big E's face. I mean,
And I'm saying with the hobbled and crippled, if you worked it a certain way where you had hobbled and crippled on top of each other, and you had that and symbol, just kind of twist it to the side outside of the H and the C, kind of hugging the H and the C on an angle, then you'd be able to put it just a little bit smaller above the neck break, and maybe even bring that neck break down just a little bit more, because obviously there's a timestamp in the lower right hand corner, but it's not as important anymore, and it's not as large on the platforms anymore either. So if you had that neck break almost just kind of hugging at the midpoint where the actual spine was at the midpoint like that, and then I mean, obviously you got that arm in that, but you bring that down just like that. You play with the hobble and crippled a little bit, then it's more compact, and then you play with Big E's face to make it more deliberate. And I feel like that's more impactful if you're going to go with the text. But I would also implore you to A/B test it, see how it's doing with the text on your first, say, depends on how many impressions you get. If you're a smaller channel, like even my channel, play with the first 150, 200 impressions that you get with it, then switch it out to another CTR or another thumbnail to measure that CTR to see how it'll do. That's only if your CTR on those first impressions is bad. And what I consider bad is 10% or lower on something with only a small sample rate of like 100 or 200. If you're below 10%, especially if you're hugging like 2%, 1%, something's wrong with the title or the thumbnail, man, is what it is. Or you're talking about something that no one has interest in. But obviously this is WWE. We both know wrestling's big on YouTube. And we both know that YouTube will give you some impressions for it. So if you're not popping in those first 200 and you're not at least at like 10%, start questioning things, start thinking about it. You know what I mean?
That's a great tip, dude. That's a really great tip. And something I'm trying to get into, at least on the wrestling side of it. This is something you hear in all the videos, the VidIQ videos, and all the people that are trying to, tell you what to do. Is to have multiple thumbnails, have, like you said with the A/B testing, but like have multiple thumbnails to where you're, ready to change that on the go. So, and you're being prepared in doing that, right? Because I mean, I know at least for me, man, like I know this is your actual job, but like, dude, I work a regular 40-hour job, and I'm trying to do 2 channels. So like, I don't have a lot of time to like, but dude, with the wrestling one, I'm the true crime is basically I'm just doing lives, I'll throw videos together. I'm not even putting a lot of effort into them. I'm just kind of riding on what I've built there and hoping it can keep going. My main thing really is lives. I've got a little community. It's pretty sweet, but man, more than anything, I want to be able to make videos and like them and to be able to monetize them and them go like more than anything. So the wrestling I feel like is my best bet because true crime's awesome. I do love true crime. I'm super into it, obviously, but dude, pro wrestling is like, I mean, you could probably tell by looking at my channel. Like, I love pro wrestling. I'm super passionate about it. I know basically everything there is to know about pro wrestling. So in pro wrestling, I'm not in wrestling by any means, but you see these guys on here, dude, like a regular guy in the wrestling community can actually grow and go. So I don't know. I've got the bug again, man.
That's good. That's a good thing to have, though. You're motivated, and I would say in the wrestling space, try to wrap your mind around what everyone else is doing and what everyone else is not doing. What voice can you bring in? What way of looking at these different things in wrestling, different docu-style things in wrestling? What perspective can you bring that they can't bring? You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
That's something I'm doing with the SEO space, and that's something that I'm trying to do, just bringing a little bit of comedy to it, And one other thing too is you'll see these different people in the SEO space, even like a Neil Patel or a Brian Dean and these guys, they've become big, and also the guys on VidIQ, they're very big, they're notable guys, and they're giving great advice. But what I wonder sometimes is how active are they actually with promoting channels outside of promoting SEO channels, because like yourself, I don't know how many hours I work in a week, to be honest with you, but I work for several clients and I don't have a lot of time to work on my channels. I'm not sure that the people that are pontificating SEO principles about YouTube are actually still active in the game. So that's my perspective that I'm going to give to
that's interesting.
Video SEO.
I never thought about it like that.
I'm in the game, This is something I do every day.
Actively doing it.
Right. So in terms of your wrestling, think about something that people are adding to wrestling already, but something that you could add that no one else could, some perspective that you could add that no one else could. It might be geographically, where you're from, geographically, what were the territories around there? Because I could see something like Southern wrestling fan reacts to DDT Pro. something like that. You know, I don't watch a lot of
that's
wrestling
a great
anymore.
idea.
Little things like that. You
You
got to think about the angles. You know, you got to think about what you have working for you, and how that's different than anyone else. Because someone in New York can't make that reaction. You know, someone in England can't make that reaction. We see so many people in the UK making wrestling videos now. But if you grew up with, say, just pulling from my own memory, a USWA territory or something like that was your territory in the 90s, and you're reacting to some of the Smoky Mountain. So perfect. Jim Cornette. Smoky Mountain Diehard reacts to DDT Pro Deathmatch or something like that.
That's a great idea because Jim Cornette hates that shit. Oh, dude, that's a brilliant idea.
Exactly.
Dude, holy shit.
It's all these little microcosms of interest, and everything's becoming very niched down on YouTube. So it's all about your expertise and your authenticity. So if you grew up loving Smoky Mountain, that right there, you grew up being fed Jim Cornette's version of wrestling, his utopia of wrestling. And now you're going to digest something that he absolutely hates and give your innate reaction to it. And you're going to do it in a funny way, you know? So it's perfect.
Dude, that is super interesting. Yeah, man. The one dude that you did the interview with that had the one, I don't remember the name of the channel, but the like 800K channel.
Tap out corner.
Dude that works with Maven.
Yeah,
Maven, that guy's channel too. I mean, it kills. And the one thing about that though, is like, that guy's super smart. Like what you were just talking about, dude, his ideas for the videos make you want to click on it. The Maven videos are the same, dude. Every single one of those I want to click on. I'm just like, what? Like, the ideas are brilliant with that guy.
Yeah, it's all about just being on the platforms, man. You see these opportunities. If you're looking and you're consuming the content, especially within your space, you should always look at the competition. That doesn't mean you copy the competition. That means you're mindful of what they're doing and what they're not doing and what you could be doing from your own actual authenticity more than anything. I mean, you don't want to copy the competition. You don't copy the competition already, but that's my point. You can kind of see where those opportunities are. You can see what people are already engaging. So we know Cornette is just a firebrand. He's such a polarizing person on YouTube. I had a really good video on Cornette.
Dude, that's how I found you.
Something. Yeah, that's how you found me. It's how a lot of people found me. So the fact that you grew up watching Cornette's wrestling, you could kind of give that perspective on modern wrestling. It'll be not necessarily Cornette, but you could kind of ride some of that wave because maybe you don't agree with Cornette all the time, but you were a Smoky Mountain fan. So that's an interesting perspective. Well, it looks like we're running out of time here.
Dude, I appreciate the fuck out of this, Kurt, man. This has been amazing, bro.
I appreciate it too. Thank you for coming on and allowing me to share this with my channel. It means a lot to me, and you gave me a lot of good perspectives. And I hope we could come back in a couple of months and see how Wrestle Plunge grew, see how this Big E video did, see what actually happened, and we kind of break down what happened and why we thought it happened.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool, man.
Sounds good, man.
Hell yeah, dude. I appreciate the shit out of this, man. Have a great day, and I'll be talking to you when you're live and in your chats, dude.
All right, I appreciate that, man. Have a great night, man.
Later, brother.
Sounds like you gave Steve some good information, pal. Yeah, it was really cool talking to Steve, man. I'm glad he let us share it with the channel. What if you started talking to all kinds of creators about their channels? Imagine all the people you could help. Alright. If you'd like to talk to me about your YouTube channel, go ahead and click the link right here. We could discuss it just like I just did with Steve. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Video SEO Club.